All right, we're back. All right, we're back. We've been diving deep into Koetting lately, and today the air in the studio feels a bit different. A bit heavy.
Tell me about it. I woke up feeling like I was wearing a lead vest. I thought it was just the humidity. But looking at this text, it's almost like the book is manifesting in the room.
Careful, Em. Don't give the universe ideas. I'm calling in from home, by the way. Everything is totally normal here. No gelatinous masses or breathing issues, I promise.
Please, if there was a gelatinous mass in your living room, Paco, you'd be the first to post a TikTok about it.
Speaking of, we're looking at a passage from Evoking Eternity where Koetting describes something pretty unsettling. He's talking about his guest, his family starting to feel this stifling atmosphere, like they're walking through cobwebs, or even an invisible gelatinous mass.
That is so visceral. It's a physical obstruction, not even a bad vibe.
Exactly. And he goes on to say that his partner actually woke up in the middle of the night claiming she couldn't breathe.
Ugh, see, this is where I lose him. He's describing a literal respiratory crisis in his home, and his takeaway is, time to clean out the energetic trash.
But wait, Jane, look at what he says next. He admits that performing these demonic rituals near home or family can lead to depression, psychological dysfunction, and even heavy illness. He's actually warning against it.
Yeah, and here's the kicker. He says that even though the atmosphere was suffocating, that spiritual darkness was actually a superb catalyst for his evocations.
Wait, what? So he's saying the more toxic and heavy the environment, the faster the demons show up?
That's exactly his claim. He says the demons appeared with extraordinary speed and precision because of the darkness. He actually felt in his element in the dark.
That sounds like a recipe for a complete psychotic break. He's essentially saying my family is gasping for air, but hey, the magic is working great.
I mean, if you're looking for results, I get the temptation. But you can't just live in a haunted house and expect your kids to be okay. He even mentions that even if he works away from home, he feels obligated to clean his daughter's room of the energies he brings back.
It's so interesting, though, because it reminds me of those modern energy cleansing articles I was reading, about how to clear space in your mind or home to reduce stress. We treat it as self-care, but Koetting is treating it like decontaminating a nuclear reactor.
Right, but then he pivots to something that I find even more fascinating from a technical standpoint. He talks about the return to reality. He says the practitioner must exit the ritual space both physically and mentally.
Because the brain can't handle it?
Precisely. He says the human brain isn't capable of adequately processing the acausal experience of evocation. He suggests trivial activities, cooking, a walk, even watching a trashy talk show to bring your brain waves and blood flow back to normal.
I love that. The magic was intense, the demons were terrifying, but now, let's go watch the Jerry Springer show.
But look at the psychological implication there, Paco. He says that once you return, the whole experience feels like a distant dream, like it happened to someone else.
And he goes even deeper. He claims the person watching the talk show or making a ham sandwich isn't the person who performed the ritual. He says that person slept, while the god within the practitioner woke up to take control of their destiny.
Okay, stop. That is a massive red flag. He's literally advocating for a dissociation from the E-self. He's saying, ignore the person who has to live with the consequences. Focus on the god that does the magic.
This is where it gets really wild. He addresses the big debate, are these spirits real or just hallucinations? He says some people think they're just projections of the mind, just dopamine and endorphin rushes causing hallucinations.
And he's not even being polite about it. He says if you believe it's just biochemistry, then divine love is nothing more than mere euphoria caused by your endocrine system.
And he's basically saying if you fall for that, you're just a hostage to your own intoxication.
But then he brings in the other side. He says, look, if you see an ugly face, hear a growling voice, and smell something toxic and you get actual results, then the demon is real. He's basically using Occam's razor to argue for the literal existence of monsters.
It's such a polarizing way to look at the world. One side sees a neurochemical event, the other sees a battlefield.
And he ends this section by pivoting to angels, but not the cute cherubs on clouds kind. He talks about angels as forces of destruction, Samael bringing plague, Gabriel turning cities to sulfur.
It's all very heavy.
It is, and it leaves us wondering, is the architect of this ritual building so? We're moving from that heavy, suffocating atmosphere of the home into something much more structured. Koetting shifts gears here. He moves from the chaos of demonic incursions to the architecture of the divine.
It's like he's trying to find a way to map the madness.
Exactly. He starts talking about these entities, these angels, as warriors waiting for the moment when God calls them by name. He's describing them as an army poised to rush into battle.
An army? because nothing says peaceful spirituality like a cosmic infantry unit.
But look, he's grounding it in tradition. He says most of what we call angels comes from Judeo-Christian texts or occult schools like Rosicrucianism and Kabbalah, and he makes a really important distinction here. He says while a typical churchgoer might just pray to an angel or ask Jesus to send one, the Kabbalist has specific methods of evocation.
So it's more of a technical procedure than a request.
Right? It's about the tree of life. He describes it as an 11-part structure, where each sephira, each seer responds to a planet, an element, and an aspect of the divine.
And he claims each one is a home for spiritual entities.
Yeah, and he says the power of the magician comes from the vibration of the archangel's name. But here's the catch, and it ties back to what we were saying about commanding versus surrendering. He says these archangels are perfect for filling an evocateur's desires, but only if that desire aligns perfectly with the angel's original purpose.
Oh, so you can't just ask the Sun Archangel for a raise in your salary if it's not solar in nature?
Exactly. He says if you need healing, don't go to Bina, the sphere of Saturn. Even if Saturn's energy could help, it's not their competence. You go to Netzach or Hod, it's like calling a specialist.
Speaking of specialists, I've been looking at his list as like a cosmic directory. He starts with Kether associated with Uranus and says Metatron rules it. It's about opening the divinity within yourself.
Then it gets dark again, quickly.
It does. He moves to Bina, the third sphere. He associates it with Saturn, and he says these angels rule over death, destruction, disease, and failure.
And wait, he says Bina is one of the 3 spiritual gates leading to the dark gods, and a causal dimension even deeper than the abyss.
See, there it is. We went from opening divinity to entering the dark gods in about 3 paragraphs.
It's a bit of a roller coaster, isn't it? But check out Hod Mercury. He says they rule over sciences, medicine, and alchemy. They can even use elements of the lower world for spiritual ascent.
It's interesting how he bridges the gap. He uses these high-level, almost mathematical structures, the planets, the elements, to make the unseen feel like something you can navigate. Like he's teaching you how to use a map of the territory that's constantly shifting.
But then he gets to Da, the invisible Sephira. And this is where the whole structure starts to fray.
Yeah, he mentioned some theories that it's linked to Nibiru, or a wormhole between Saturn and Neptune. But then, and this is the part that really caught my eye, he says some believe Da'at is the bridge between the tree of life and the Qliphoth, the tree of death.
The tree of evil.
Right. And he says the angels of doubt might actually be the demons of the Qliphoth. He says passing through Da'at is the destruction of the lower self. It leads to the absolute destruction of individuality, or the rebirth of the eternal God.
That sounds like a lot of pressure for a Tuesday.
It's such a high stake. You're learning a skill and taking a total existential gamble. You either become a god, or you cease to exist.
And he ends this section by saying, despite all this complex mapping, there are outsider angels, entities that don't fit the Kabbalistic system at all. They just show up during the practice.
So, the map is useful, but the territory is still full of monsters that aren't even on the legend.
Which honestly is a pretty terrifying way to end the chapter. Okay, let's pick up where we left off. We were talking about the outsider angels, and Koetting actually starts to contrast them with the more manageable spirits. He says that some entities are quite beautiful, they speak with soft, pleasant voices, and they rarely take any form other than human.
Like the friendly versions of the divine.
Exactly. But then he brings it back to the heavy hitters. He says, in direct contrast, the archangels look like these massive figures whose power is simply too vast to be controlled or commanded. Their purpose is too unique, and their minds are too boundless to be outsmarted.
So, you can't trick them, but you can still. What? Ask them to do your laundry?
Well, he says the evoker can still achieve a state where these beings act quickly and clearly on your instructions, literally performing miracles. But, and here's the pivot, he moves immediately into demons.
And here comes a part where the sermon gets spicy.
Right. He starts by saying it's naive to think only uneducated Christians believe in a war between good and evil. He claims all of humanity is caught in this hopeless war, visible in every language and every sacred text.
He's leaning hard into that universal conflict idea we touched on earlier.
He is. He describes God, Satan, and their armies fighting with spiritual spears and ethereal swords, and says that Satan and his followers were cast down to earth. And he even pulls in other traditions. He mentions the jinn in Islam and the asuras in Hinduism.
Wait, so he's actually being inclusive?
In a weird, dark way. Yeah. He says the asuras are basically deities who lost their grace because of their thirst for power. But then, and this is where he gets skeptical, he says the classic image of demons as these stupid, weak, or sickly creatures is just something the church paid authors to write.
Yeah, the church paid for it. That's the classic everything is a conspiracy move right there.
But he uses it to make a point. He says if you look at real historical accounts of possessions, or horror movies, or actual encounters in real life, the classic demon doesn't match the reality. So he asks the big question, what are true demons and where can a mage find them?
He's looking for the real deal, not the Sunday school version.
And here's the technical claim. He says that a huge number of the entities we call demons in old grimoires are actually just planetary or sephirotic entities, or even just cultural egregores. He's saying that after you filter out the noise, very few things are actually demons.
So he's deconstructing the whole monsters under the bed thing.
He is. He says the true demons of the Qliphoth are a much harder group to define because their nature has been intentionally hidden from both written and oral traditions.
But he says they still show themselves if a black magician is brave enough to call them by name.
And he ties it back to that architect idea. He says God is like a great mathematician who maintains the universe in perfect equilibrium. Everything, every atom, every emotion has a counterpart. The tree of life is a masterpiece of balance.
But the Qliphoth is the shadow math?
Precisely. He presents two theories. One is that the Qliphoth and the Sephiroth were created at the same time to maintain a fragile equilibrium of opposites. The other, which he says is what unenlightened practitioners believe, is that the Qliphoth are just uncontrolled energies that leak out when a Sephira falls out of balance.
One sounds like a cosmic design. The other sounds like a cosmic plumbing leak.
He definitely leans toward the first one. He says the Qliphoth do exist as a spiritual phenomenon. You can see them through clairvoyance or visit them via astral projection. He's not just talking about metaphors. He's talking about a territory you can physically, spiritually inhabit.
And then he starts the roll call, the list of the unbalanced spheres.
Yeah, and it's heavy. He starts with Nehemoth, also called Lilith. He calls it the unbalanced reflection of Malkuth. He says its energy forces humans into passionate and sinful acts that drive them away from spiritual ascent and back into being instinctive, two-legged animals.
That's such a visceral way to describe losing your humanity.
It is. And then he moves to Gamaliel, the reflection of Yesod. He says its demons deepen the influence of Lilith, pushing moral animalism even further. He literally says, while the angels of Yesod teach the basics of white magic, the demons of Gamaliel poison hearts with malice.
It's like he's describing a slow-motion psychological rot.
Exactly. And then there's Samael, the poison of God. This one is tied to Hod, the spear of science and medicine. He says, while the angels of Hod teach medicine, the demons of Samael teach the worsening of health and forbidden alchemy that plunges the soul into darkness.
Forbidden alchemy? I mean, if it's not illegal, is it even magic?
He's not joking about the danger, though. He moved to Erev Zerach, the Raven of Dispersion. He says it's the distorted version of Netzach. He says when the balance between intellect and emotion is broken, these demons rule over unbridled passions, greed, jealousy, leading to things like theft and even murder.
It's also chaotic. There's no way to escape the consequences of these energies.
There's no escape because according to him, the structure requires them. He moves to Tagiron, the Disturbers of Peace. He describes these demons as black giants full of rage, who make families, nations, and even worlds rise up against each other.
It's a personal ritual that triggers a global war.
That's the scale he's working with. And then, the list gets even more intense. He talks about Golachab, those who burn with flame. These demons turn the sun's abundance into disaster and fire. They are ruled by Asmodeus.
Man, this list is getting longer and much, much darker.
It is. He reaches Gaghabla, the one who disturbs all things. He says the purpose of these demons is to teach the black magician the mysteries of the Qliphoth, so they can use that same energy to reign as a god of darkness on Earth.
So the goal isn't just to survive the darkness, it's to weaponize it.
And finally, he ends this section with Satariel P. Concealers. The reflection of Bina. He says their power is to hide things, to keep secrets. And while that might not sound impressive at first,
I bet there's a catch. There's always a catch with these secrets.
Man, I need to step away from this darkness for a second before I start seeing shadows in the corner.
agreed. Let's take 5 and grab some water.